So we're looking just at some basic things from C1 and C2, which we'll be using fairly early on in the C3 lessons. First of all, some graphs. You need to remember that the shape of a y equals 1 over x sort of graph comes in two parts with asymptotes along the x-axis and the y-axis. So make sure you draw the asymptotes in first so that the graph doesn't touch. And you also need to know the shape of the exponential graph, y equals a to the x, and crosses the y-axis at 0, 1. Factor theorem you need to learn the wording. If f of a is equal to 0, then that means that x minus a is a factor of f of x, and also the remainder factor, remainder theorem. If f of a equals r, where r is the remainder when f of x is divided by x minus a, so r is the remainder. Make sure you're very good at rearranging the subject. You should know all the basic sort of ones for rearranging the subject, but remember as well how to do where x appears in two different places. For example, 5x plus a equals bx minus 3. You need to get all the x terms on one side, everything else on the other side, which means you can take x out as a common factor, and then you get x equals a plus 3 divided by b minus 5 in this case. So make sure that you can do all the basic rearranging. You need to recap your 6 rules for transforming graphs, because we'll be using those in C3 as well. So remember, if you're adding something, it will be a translation. You'll either add inside the bracket, which means that it moves parallel to the x-axis by negative a, or you'll add it outside the bracket, which is parallel to the y-axis, and by positive a. If you're multiplying, it will be a stretch. So if it's inside the bracket, again it's parallel to the x-axis and the scale factor is 1 over a. If it's outside the bracket, it's parallel to the y-axis, scale factor a. And finally, if there's a negative sign, it will be a reflection. Make sure you get them the right way round. If the negative is inside the bracket, it's a reflection in the y-axis this time. And if the negative is outside the bracket, it is a reflection in the x-axis. So that's some basic C1 and C2, just to recap.